Their techniques over the years now, they're spraying offshore at night or early in the morning, and letting the weather systems bring this stuff along with them and move it across the country. So they're real. They are messing with the atmosphere. They have been putting perhaps nano-sized particulates now of aluminum, barium, and other items into the lower atmosphere. I mean, 20,000 feet and below, maybe even up to 30,000. To turn the lower atmosphere, we think, into a number of different platforms for doing a number of different things. It's a very nefarious, evil, and ugly practice. It's called geoengineering, otherwise known as ChemTrails, this planet's atmosphere into a mess. And it's not going to just go away in a few weeks, a few months. It's a very serious crisis.
That's what they do. They want to control everything. The weather is the most destructive weapon they could control. And they can conquer countries again without anyone knowing they were even at war. These little bright dots you see here are smaller radio frequency transmitters, of which there is an unknown number, that appear to be a part of these programs. It's not just the major facilities like HARP. You have a great deal of smaller facilities there too. Stealth terror, weather warfare, and the end of America. Again, weather modification is a very covert weapon that rulers can use against their own populations to keep them in conformity. We seem to be immersed in that right now in California.
Can you tell us something about chemtrails? How toxic are the materials in chemtrails?
Chemtrails. And chemtrails, by the way, barium salts are in chemtrails. They are 10,000 times more toxic to your nervous system than lead. They contain mycobacteria, viruses, Pseudomonas florensis bacteria, human plasma. Wonder what human plasma is doing in chemtrails. And this is not by conjecture. I did a lot of research before I'd ever say this. But these chemtrails are nasty. And there's three reasons for chemtrails. The first is and I talked to my NSA buddies at Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, and Buckley, where I was actually their doctor taking care of the pilots flying and spraying the chemtrails. So I know it's real. If anybody says it's not real, they're full of it. Okay? Because I'm a whistleblower. On the inside, it's not open for discussion. And my NSA buddies told me, 95% of them told me, they were up there trying to spray to reflect the sun out to stop global warming. So most of them are dumb enough to believe that garbage.
To try to keep whatever ice they can in the Arctic at any cost to the rest of the planet. And we see that because we see a conveyor in some senses. These high-pressure domes, you're not far from me, so you know this, the constant...
Sure. We didn't get... Did you get any rain in
No.
November to speak of?
No. We haven't had significant rain since December of last year. And my exact location normally gets 70 inches a year. We're 190 inches short for the last 7 years. I mean, this is what happens when you aerosolize these incoming storms. It migrates the moisture onward. So massive high pressure over us, spins clockwise, jet stream goes over us, and this summer the typical pattern was they would pick up moisture from the Gulf, pump it up the eastern seaboard where there was a lot of rain, and they kept pushing that toward the Arctic, where they were nucleating the hell out of it. We can see it on the radar when they're artificially chemically ice nucleating, which is a chemical process that turns rain at warmer temperatures to nucleated snow, heavy wet snow, but then that nucleation process cools the temperatures down, and that nucleation material continues to be active when it hits the ground. So we see, for example, last year here, we had temperatures in the 50s and 60s, and we still had 3-4 inches of ice on our ponds, and the process was so powerful, it was gassing the water right out of our ponds. We're waiting for more samples coming back on that now, but in the case of barium and ammonium, those two elements, and you can Google this and see lab tests online for this too, but those two elements combined can lower temps up to 100 degrees. So we know barium's in the mix. Ammonium is hard to test for because it gasses out quickly, but on the radar we can see they're nucleating almost everything, Jeff, because snow no longer has almost anything to do with elevation. It's based on regions, because it's wherever they're choosing to spray the storm the heaviest, they can cause ice nucleation. So one side's snow of the storm, the other side's rain. Sometimes
is aluminum dioxide in all the soils, where you've got to go to companies like Monsanto. They're coming out with whole seed lines that will grow in aluminum poisoned soil. But that's only part of it. It's about the seed banks, the seed arcs, all of this. It's about weather weapons, shutting down regions that don't play ball. They're already talking about a Chicago mercantile system that will bet on the weather. Well, it's going to be a rigged casino. They don't set up casinos without putting their, finger on it, without controlling it. This is about playing God. This is about world government. And this is about genocide, population reduction.
Capability of actually smelling and tasting these things in the air. In fact, that's when I first woke up to this, is I started tasting very salty, metallic taste in the air and had terrible inflammation, pain, headache, all kinds of symptoms that came over me within a period of about 10 or 15 minutes, which I'd never experienced anything like this before. And the taste and the symptoms all coincided, and I looked outside and saw these big